Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel NTR Classes by Nitesh sir. Today we are going to discuss business studies of class 12, chapter 3 business environment. So what is business environment? We all know about business. They are doing work, we all know. Uh, and what is environment? And what is business environment? Business environment means where the business is, the environment around it, or the forces which are affecting the business. These forces can uh, have no control of the business over them. So these can be positive or negative effect on the business. So this is all about the chapter. Importance and dimensions. Study of business environment is compulsory for the survival and growth of the business. Yes, this is very important. To study business environment is very much important for the survival and growth of the business, so that from the business environment we can be aware about the what is coming in future, what are the threats, what are the opportunities, what are the strength and weakness. We can say SWOT analysis we can do for our business, for their survival and growth, for the survival and growth of the business. This will help the business. Concept, it refers to the negative changes that occurred in the business environment and hindered the performance of an organization. Yes, this is very much important to study the and whatever negative changes are coming in the business environment, what are the forces are going to affect the business environment. If we study the business environment, we can make plans accordingly, we can make policies for the growth and survival of the business, and we can save the performance of the organization. So it is given here that it refers to the negative changes that occurred in the business environment and hindered the performance of an organization. We are talking about features of business environment. So here are the features of the business environment. First is totality of external forces. Yes, all the forces are external which are affecting the business, and these forces have no control of the business, means these cannot be controlled by the business. So these are totally external forces. These can be customers, these can be suppliers, these can be investors, these can be government policies, economic policies, these can be the culture, tradition. If there is changes, this will directly affect the business. So these are totally external forces. Second, if we are talking about though, secondly, these are point is specific and general forces. These forces are divided into two. These are specific and general. If specific we are talking about, then if it affects one and a firm of an industry, one firm or a firm of an industry which is directly affected, this comes in a specific force. Like what can be these specific forces? Can be customers, suppliers, investors. But if we are talking about general forces, the forces which affects all the industries, all the firms of an industry in common, these are general forces. There is a specific force if we are talking about that affects only one firm of an industry. One firm is affected, then that is a specific force. If many firms are affected, then this is general forces. Specific force example is customer, investor, supplier, etc. But if we are talking about general force, that will be in broad, like government policies, economic policies, traditions, or social changes we can talk about. So these will be general forces. I hope both the difference is clear. Specific and general forces. Interrelatedness, if we are talking about, yes, there is interrelatedness in the business environment. It is related, like there is a change in politics, like there is election and there is change in government. New government can change the economic policies also. Like import and export was there for your business, and now there is a change in policy, then that will affect import and export. So we can say that politics affected the economy. So there is interrelatedness. I hope this is clear. So business environment, if we talk about interrelatedness, that political environment affected the economical environment. Political environment because new like government was there, And if that new government has changed the important export policy, then it will direct affect the economy of the country. So that affected the economics of the country. So that is interrelatedness. We are talking about fourth point, that is dynamic. Yes, dynamic in nature. Business environment is dynamic in nature. Dynamic in nature means it changes every time with the time, uh, as per the environment. There is changes in business environment that changes day by day as per the policies and uh, time. Fifth point, if we are talking about, there is uncertainty in business environment. One can predict it. So there is no one has control over it also. So that is uncertainty is there. Sixth point is complexity. Yes, it is very complex to study business. That's why this is the feature of business environment. It is very complex. It is very difficult to study it. Seventh point is relativity. If we are talking about relativity means relatedness of the business environment with the local environment. Yes. If we are talking about like Ladakh, their climate is changed there. So if we are talking about jackets and coats, business is different there. But if we are talking the same business in Rajasthan and Thar desert area, so that is not possible. So there is change, and that is relativity of the local environment. So this is seventh feature point, that is the feature of business environment. Oh, I hope that all these features are clear to you. Now moving towards next, that is importance of business environment. Why business environment is very important, and why it is important to study business environment. Yes, this is for the safety of your business. If you are starting a business, it's very much important to study business environment. Otherwise, if you will not study, it can hamper your or it can create hindrance in the performance of your organization or your business. It can affect your business positively or maybe negatively, you can say. So first point, why it is important. So first mover advantage. First mover advantage, suppose you have started something very new. So you will be the master of that thing. Like Mark Zuckerberg has started Facebook. So he is still the master of that field. He is doing, he has started that. Like WhatsApp has started unlimited messaging system. So still master. WhatsApp is the master of messaging. And after that, Instagram, Facebook, and other apps started these unlimited texting messages system. But first WhatsApp was there. So if we are talking about first move over advantage, so start first will be the master of that thing. Clear? I hope this is so how this happened, because they studied the environment, they studied the future, how, what will be the future environment, what will be the demand in future. So they started this. So first mover advantage you will get if you study the business environment. Second is, if you will study the business environment, you will get the warning signals. Suppose in future some tradition, some culture changes will be there, some technological changes will be there. So it will help you, it will give you warning signals to protect your business in whatever in future is going to happen. You can make plans according to it. So I hope this point is also clear. Now next is third one, that is tapping useful resources. Whatever resources will be in future will be in demand. If you are studying business environment, you will be aware that this thing will be in demand in future. So accordingly you can plan, accordingly you can start working on it, you can start acquiring those things, you can start storing those things, so that it will help your business in future. So tapping useful resources, this is the point. I hope this is also clear. Now moving fourth point, moving toward the fourth point, that is coping with rapid changes. Coping with rapid changes means, if there is changes continuously, we can see that there is change in the environment every day, in businesses also. So if we are studying the business environment, it will help in coping with the rapid changes. Fifth point is assisting in planning and policy formulation. Yeah, very true. That if you study the business environment, it will affect, it will assist you, it will help you in making planning and policies accordingly for your business. If you study the business environment, it will help you accordingly. You can make the policies and planning. It will helps you in improvement in perfection of your or performance of your organization. This will help you the performance of your organization also. So these are the importance of business environment, why we study business environment. I hope this is clear. Now moving toward next, this is the components of business environment. So there are two components, internal environment and external environment. What are internal environment? It refers to all those factors which influence the business and present within the business itself and are under the control of the business. Means it, these are the factors which influence the business, but they are present inside the business itself and they are controlled by the business. But external forces, it refers to all those factors which influence the business, but these are out of the business, outside the business. These exits outside the business and business is no control over it. So these kind of environment will be called as external environment. I hope these two components of business environment are clear to you. Components of business environment are two: internal environment and external environment. Two are there. Next. Now in detail, we are going to internal environment. What can be internal environment? How can it affect the business? First is objective of the business. This is internal. What is the objective of the business? What is the purpose, aim of the business? That is internal environment. Policies of the business which will affect the business. So this will be internal. Production capacity will be internal. Production method, management information system, participation of in management, composition of board of directors, managerial attitudes, organizational structure, future of features of human resource. These are internal environment which affects the business. So if you are businessmen or businesswomen, you can see all these internal environments and you have control over these things because these are internal environment and business has control over these. But if we are talking about external environment, so this will be micro environment or operating environment. Micro environment, what are micro environment? Which can be affect the business directly and we can say one business, like we talk as for we discussed about specific forces. So we can say micro environment or operating environment. We can say this is similar to specific forces like customers, suppliers, competitors, public, market, intermediaries, which have we can say which affects one business or one firm of an industry. But if we are talking about micro environment and general environment, that will be a broader. This what comes in this like we general forces we discussed earlier. The same here it is, like government policies, economical environment, technological environment. Like there is a change in tax policies. If there is change in tradition, culture, all these comes in general environment, that is macro environment. And business has no control over these two, neither on micro environment or operating environment, nor on this macro environment or general environment. I hope these things are also clear. Moving towards next, dimensions of business environment. This is very important. So dimensions of business environment. What are the dimensions of business environment? Here we are talking about. So these are 5 dimensions of business environment, and these are very important where we have to study more about these. So these are political environment, economical environment, social environment, technological environment, and legal environment. These are the 5 environments which are dimensions of business environment and which are affecting the business. Political environment can be government policies, government if make changes in the policies like GST and other interest rate, tax rates. So these affects the business. And if we are talking about economic environment, so economic environment will be in a, talk about import export policies, taxation policies, other policies, industrial policies, economical conditions like such as in national income, general price level, rate of interest, these things which can affect economically the business. Social environment, if we are talking about, then that can be taste of customer, tradition, culture, which affects, or we can say fashion also. If some there is change in fashion, then that will affect your business. If you are uh, producer of some kind of clothings, dresses or bags, and if there is change in fashion, then that will affect your business. Technological environment, if we are talking about, there is change in technical technology that can also affect, like earlier schools were offline, then there were online schools, everything was changed, children were attending classes, and like now also you are learning through this YouTube channels. So there is change in a technological environment which are affecting businesses. Legal environment, we can say legal policies and changes in uh, structure of government, and changes as per the rules and laws. So we can learn this by a simple term, that is PEST-L. PEST-L. P for political environment, E for economical environment, S for social environment, T for technological environment, L for legal environment. So if you are learning PEST-L, you are learning all the dimensions of business environment. Now moving towards next, that is demonetization. This point I think have been removed, and but still you can go a short through a short discussion. On demonetization, you all are aware about this: withdrawal of status of legal tender to the currency in circulation is called demonetization. Features of demonetization: taxation, administrative measures, means administrative tax can be administrative measures can be taken by demonetization. Tax evasion control measures, means tax control, they can control whatever, who is not paying, who is paying, they can easily control them. Channelizing savings into formal financial system, those who are keeping money in their homes or storing the money in other places, that is also converted into formal financial system, or everyone is submitting their money in banks and all, they are declaring their money. Creating less cash economy, means cashless economy, which we are, our government is also talking about. More and more there will be online transactions and all. So this is about demonetization. Economic reforms, since 1991 on new economic policy. With the new economic policy, when we got independence after 200 years from the Britishers, the condition was not very good, and Swadeshi movement was there. Everything was produced inside the country and sold inside the country. We were not contenting and selling or purchasing with the outside world. But with the new economic reform since 1991, or the new economic policy, if we are talking about, there is change in the businesses, and there was liberalization, privatization, and globalization. So you can learn by LPG policies, economic reform or new economic policy. We can also say LPG policy, because we got these three terms: is liberalization, privatization, and globalization. What is liberalization? Liberalization means when there was earlier, when some outside companies, foreign companies were has to start business with our country, they has to go through lot many license and all. But with the liberalization policy, there were less licensing policies, and which that were required only where, like chemical and all kind of industries were there, which were work was dangerous. So those required more licenses and all, has to take from the government. But for the other businesses, foreign businesses, government has removed this licenses and all. So liberalization they have provided to foreign companies. Privatization, yes, when there was a lot, we know all the maximum companies were controlled by the government, but we can say that some of the companies were they were not in good conditions because they were not properly maintained and managed by the government. They were moving towards deficits, and government has to pay from their treasuries. So government has decided to privatize those companies and organizations, firms, to private companies who can handle them, who can make profit from out of them. So privatization was started. Globalization is the policy under new economic policy, where all we were allowed to um, start business with other countries, foreign countries. So this was in new economic policies. LPG is the important term in this: liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Objectives of economic reform, why it was required: because modernization of industrial system of the country, that was very much required for the growth of the country, development of the country. Second, encouraging private investments, so that private companies can invest more and more in these businesses and economy of the country. Third is to attract foreign investment, because when foreign investment will be there, there will be like we can say foreign currencies also, and might increase the employment opportunities also in our country. Fourth is eliminating unproductive controls which were useless. Fifth is connecting Indian economy with the world. Sixth is controlling fiscal deficits, which were there in some of the companies, the institutions, the organizations of the government, which are not properly maintained and managed by the government. So economic reforms brings a control in fiscal deficits also. Increasing foreign exchange reserves also, it increases. Eighth is controlling unprofitable industrial units in the public sectors. This helps in controlling. So these are the objectives of economic reforms. Major steps taken by the government by the economic reforms. This is the new economic policy, which we have discussed already. New trade policy was there, fiscal reform, monetary reforms, capital market reforms were there. Dismantling price control. I'm not going to discuss more about this because this is not very much important, as already whatever we have discussed, that is was in the chapter and which was important. Impact of changes in the government policies. Here, if we are talking about impact of changes in government policies on business and industry, increasing competition, yes. Impact of changes. Government policies have increased competition. More demanding customers now are there. Rapid changing technological environment is there. Necessity for change, need for developing of human resources, market orientation, loss of budgetary support to the public sector. So these are the impact of changes in government policies on business and industry. Impact of private, what is the impact of privatization on industry and business? Increasing competition, reduction in political interference. Yeah, when there is privatization, there is less political interference. Increasing responsibility, because private companies are handling them, the responsibilities there. Increasing efficiency, increasing rate of industrial growth, freedom in management. So these are the impacts of privatization on industry and business. Yeah, so this was the chapter third, business environment, short discussion and revision. For more videos, like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel, that is NTR Classes by Nitesh sir, and share with your friends also. Thank you.